Hello, everybody. Hello, future change makers. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris. I'm from Academy XI. It's my pleasure to be here hosting today's webinar focused on our open day for our UX and UI design transform course. So welcome everybody. It's great to see you in the room. And I'd like everybody to jump in to the chat, share where you're from. I'm from New South Wales. I live below Sydney. And before I start, I'd like to acknowledge everyone. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians as well of the various lands on which we're from today. And I extend that welcome to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who are joining and participating in today's webinar. And I'd like to pay my respects to all elders past, present, and emerging. And I'd like to extend that thanks to their ongoing culture and their connections to the lands and the waters across Australia. So if you know the lands that you're standing on, and hello, Bailey from Melbourne. Great to see you. Thank you for jumping in and sharing where you're from. But if you know the lands you're standing from today, so please, share them. Jump in, share the city you live in, the lands that you're standing on if you know it. And big welcome. We've got a lot to cover today. And you can see the people in the room, my colleagues. You can see that I've got a slide deck that I'd like to showcase and present to you today as well. If there's any questions along the way, please jump in and ask those questions. There's a Q&A function in the Zoom, in this webinar. There's also the chat if you'd like to ask questions there. It's a very casual environment that we set here at Academy XI. So please just use any of the spaces. Now, an important thing about questions is if you're thinking about the questions, perhaps there's other people in the room thinking about the same questions. So we feel it's important that you ask it because not only would you be contributing to your own understanding, but you might be contributing to others' understanding. And that's how we connect. That's how we connect. That's how our students connect. They become peers, they become colleagues and friends along the way. Relationships are built. You're all in this together. And so if you ask the question, you're going to benefit others and vice versa. So don't be shy, jump in, but I'd love to hear from where everyone's from. There's people in the room from Melbourne. As I mentioned before, I'm just below Sydney. We've got people from Sydney on the Eastern Seaboard. So share where you're from. If you're in Australia, if you're abroad, or you live in my hometown, let us know. So thank you very much for being here. Let's move on. In terms of what we're covering today, there is a fair bit to cover, but we'd like to start with looking at what is UX UI design and looking at our Transform course, which is our flagship course at Academy XI. We'll be talking about the level of support, both from an academic standpoint with mentors and instructors, and then a non-academic support with student support engagement people. And I'm joined by one of my colleagues today who's here to talk about all the non-academic support behind the scenes that we can offer. We'll be talking about the course features. What are some of the key takeaways? We'll talk about course materials, key topics taught in the course. We'll talk about how you'll learn, how you'll set your own study pace as well, because like all of us, we're busy. Some of us are time poor, but we want to make that change in our lives by setting a pace that is flexible, that can be adaptable week on week. But all in all, we create that study pace so we can schedule our time through the week. We can progress at our own pace, all within a course duration, which is quite long. So I'll talk about that in more detail later. We also have some special guests. We've got a current student here today. Sandra's going to give you a wave right now, but I'll introduce Sandra officially a little bit later. And she's going to share her entire journey. She started like you did, thinking, do I study with Academy XI? Is this the right course for me? And she'll explore that all the way through to where she's currently sitting, which is really exciting. And I'm thrilled to have her here today. So thank you, Sandra, for coming on in. And we also have a course advisor, Miles, joining us today. Miles will give a quick wave, and I'll introduce him later in the presentation as well. So again, I welcome all questions, so please keep them coming. If I can't answer it while I'm presenting, I'll ask my colleagues to jump in and answer a question. But yeah, any comments, any insights, any feedback, any questions, all welcome. So I thought it'd be a great way to start by meeting the team. Antonia is here today. Antonia, I'll ask you to come off mute and introduce yourself and share what you do at Academy XI and a little bit about your role.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending. So as Chris mentioned, my name's Antonia, and I work as part of the student experience and student engagement space. So we help you with all things non-academic related. We help you to navigate the online platform, get in touch with your mentors. We also help you with navigating the study paces, putting in place a personalized study plan as well. Basically everything that you need to sort of make your online experience as smooth as possible. So yeah, welcome, and I hope to see a lot of you in the future. That's all from me. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Antonia. And team, I'm joined by Laura. So Laura is one of the mentors in the UX UI design transform course at Academy XI. Laura is our mentor and instructor, and she's here to introduce herself and share a bit about what she does in the mentoring role. Over to you, Laura.
Hello. Yeah, so I actually went through this course a couple of years ago and just fell in love with UX and UI and graduated and went straight into a job. I'm currently working as a UX designer for Service Victoria. So I should say I reside in Melbourne, the land of the Wurundjeri people in the Kulin Nation. So Service Victoria is a government app where you interact and engage with the government services. We try to make it easy. That's my kind of day job, but I also work as a mentor, as Chris said, here at Academy XI. So I have one-on-one sessions with different students. I can help you get unstuck, stay motivated, stay inspired. I'm here for general training, advice, and basically available at any stage along the way in your journey. When you have questions, there are other mentors as well. So we've all got different availability and we're all here to help you learn. So I hope to meet some of you soon as well.
Thanks so much, Laura. Great for having you here today. All right, so before I hand over to Laura, I'd like to share a little bit of a background on what we do and how we operate, and what really is the essence of the course and why study UX UI design. And I see a really great question from an anonymous attendee, which is great. Question was more broadly, how do I decide if service design or user experience is the next chapter in my career? And there's followed by a second question. But to answer the first question is, really decides on what you'd like to, if you want to be an all-encompassing designer that focuses on customer experience, internal, the business and developer experience, and linking both, understanding the customer needs, and also in terms of the service design, both customer needs and the company needs, that's service design. But in terms of UX, you'll take the service designer, but take you to a next level where it's not only about understanding the customer, the developer, the internal business side of the equation. It's more about all encompassing, reaching out to marketing. It's all integrated. Like it could be marketing, it could be how a package is purchased, then how that package is delivered to your doorstep. And so that is a design process in itself. It's a design journey. You'll be mapping out that design journey from customer's experience with the service design experience. So I hope I've answered that question there, but in terms of, let's get started with the course, and we'll jump back to the questions, and I'll try to keep that flow throughout the webinar. So our course duration is for 12 months. Okay, so within that 12 months, there are 2 phases to accomplish. We'll talk about the course phases and structures very, very soon. But keep in mind that the completion time for some students who work at a full-time study pace can be 3 months. And we've seen graduates complete this course within 3 months, move into what is our career support program, and then land their dream role, kickstart their career, which is amazing. Others take a little bit more time, but they complete within the 12-month time frame, and it's all based on their own individual study space. Their paces that they define, it could be full-time study pace, a part-time study pace, or a less than part-time, like a casual study space, because they're more time poor, but they'd like to progress to change their lives. So keep that in mind. 12 months is the total duration. We're often asked though, what is user experience design? So what is UX, or user experience design? And to summarize, it's a human-centered approach to designing digital products or manual services, physical services. Like I mentioned before, if I buy an item or a product, how is that then arriving? What is the delivery, and how is that service then communicated so that the parcel arrives at my doorsteps? And so how do we break that down into a real user-friendly and great experience so we know exactly what's happening in a short time frame? So from both the user's perspective, it also needs to be profitable for businesses. And so our UX course is all encompassing to define services from a customer's point of view and a business point of view. And furthermore, like UX design is placed at the center of development process. We go through cycles of ideation, where we observe, we research, we test, we refine, and we ensure that the product is intuitive to use and it meets the user's needs. So that's all encompassing of user experience. But in terms of user interface, which is UI design, it's the focus of the look, the feel, the interactivity of a digital product or a digital service. UI designers consider, when we're looking at a desktop app or a mobile app, the considerations with UI very much the look and feel, but that goes deeper into the layout, the grid, typography, the color, the style, and all the features that you see on screen. And so all those visual elements that a user will interact with, such as buttons, scroll bars, drop-down menus, icons, you name it, all the interactive elements is what is designed by UI. At the back end of that is a UX process to make a service journey map simplified. So our course is all about launching a career in UX UI design to meet your own personal objectives. I'd like to change my life. I'm passionate about design. I'd like to kickstart my career. And so by combining both disciplines, UX and UI, it makes our students stand out. And so job roles require both of these attributes connected. And so that's our focus of our course. And talking about why companies care about UX is very simple. It's because we're basically, as a leading industry expert, we handpick our mentors from industry. We're very selective over this matter, and that's why I selected with like Laura in the room here. She possesses not only the passion to deliver, but she's also passionate about her role as a UX in industry, and she can bring that awareness of how the course links to industry practice. And that's the valuable element of our mentors. Now we're in a growing field and applied AI is becoming more evident in everyday life for a UX or UI designer. And there's tools that we can apply. So our course has this integration of AI tools and techniques, generative AI tools that can fast track your development of certain tasks. And that's what we're pulling out all stops and sharing with our students along the way. So it prepares you for when you land that role, so you can work at peak performance. So as an overview, I'm going to hand now back over to Laura. Once the overview is complete, Laura's going to dive in and talk about some of the key features and key topics of our course. So yeah, Laura, come on, back over to you.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, so I'll start by looking at some of the course's key topics, and along the way you might hear some new industry terms that will definitely become a lot more familiar once you're in your UX journey and working as a UXer as well. We'll start by talking about the double diamond, which you'll definitely hear a lot about. It's a design framework, structure, a UX process that we embed throughout most of the learnings. Synthesis and analysis. This adopts UX research to move toward the define stages of the double diamond. This stage lends to defining a problem or a gap or a pain point in a service for people. Then we move to ideation, which is in the develop stage of the double diamond. The purpose of ideation is to generate ideas by ourselves or in a group, to individually or co-create and generate ideas. And then there's prototyping and usability testing, which is in the deliver phase of the double diamond process. It involves an iterative process of testing prototypes with actual customers, users, and stakeholders. So then we move on to the double diamond. So at a high level, it's a framework and it has 4 specific phases within it. Step 1, which is discover. So the first quarter is devoted to a phase of observation, creativity, and reporting on the state of play. It indicates the launch of the project, and it's characterized by the search for a large number of ideas. Then you move to define. The aim here is to summarize all the information you've collected during your discovery phase, all of that research and data, to clearly formulate your design challenge. The objective here is to develop a firm understanding of your problem. Then you move into develop, the third quarter, which covers the deployment of your solutions that you've considered. The ideas must be tested and iterated to determine their viability. using models, sketches, and other iterative loops. These tests determine whether ideas are discarded or fine-tuned. And then we go to deliver. This is the project's delivery stage. The product or service is modeled, finalized, and launched. That's when improvements can be made and when us designers can conduct our analysis. Overall, the double diamond process is, in reality, rarely linear, but it involves iterating and revisiting different phases as more might be learned about the underlying problem. As a result, the double diamond framework requires design principles, both mindset and methods in the bank, like in your toolkit. So working as a UXer, you definitely need to understand each of these phases and you use all of these phases. But like I said, you will go back and forth between different parts of the double diamond as you're understanding more and more about your problem. The double diamond principles. So this methodology is actually Academy XI's design faculty's stance on our course and our students. So we put people first, understand their needs, pain points, strengths, aspirations of the people using a product or service. We communicate visually and inclusively, which helps people get a shared understanding of the problem and our ideas. Collaborate and co-create, which is probably my favorite part. We work together and be inspired by others. And iterate, where you learn from your customers, spot errors, avoid risk, and build confidence. So this is how the double diamond process is used. You'll see it kind of looks a bit complex, but the course breaks down the barriers of the double diamond and divides the process into segments where each idea is developed, tested, and fine-tuned. Building on its 4 complementary sections, the double diamond model gives the creative process step by step and encourages iterative loops. So we really just break it down and go through each step together. And I feel like it makes it really simple and very clear. And once you start using this framework, UX just comes together and it makes sense. It really does. When students work in a team, all project stakeholders are involved and follow each step closely, sharing ideas, thoughts, concerns, and skills to deliver meaningful outcomes. So the next key topic of the course focuses on synthesis and analysis, which is part of the define stage of the double diamond. It's a heavily practical activity used by UXers. While analytical writing is about breaking something apart and looking at the pieces individually, synthesis is about putting those ideas and information together to see an overall pattern of how things come together. It's a lot like analysis, where analysis is you're commenting or interpreting one piece of evidence or one idea, one paraphrase or one quote. Synthesis is where you take multiple pieces of evidence and sources and their ideas, and you talk about the connections and themes that arise between those ideas. I really love the research phase of UX. You find a lot of gold nuggets when you do your synthesis. Things sort of it all starts out like a lot of data, then you really do see patterns in what people are saying and what customers are feeling and what they might be having trouble with, their big pain points. This is a great part of UX. If you've ever been in an office with a design department, you most likely would have seen a wall with a lot of post-it notes stuck on the wall and wondered what that is. That's called affinity mapping. So it can be achieved through 2 techniques. It depends on the nature of the project, its brief and its scope. So basically you put a bunch of sticky notes with ideas on every single one of them up on a wall, and then you group them based on their similarities. These groupings can help you identify insights and themes which can guide you and inform the next step of your project. The purpose of the affinity map and affinity diagrams is to help unify large amounts of data by finding relationships and common themes between the concepts or ideas. They allow you to organize facts, opinions, issues in order to help diagnose complex problems and identify common issues. This is where your storytelling, facts and big data come from. So this is where you'll find key facts that you can present to executives or clients or stakeholders to share a story and get your idea across the line. The second phase of the double diamond is in the framework is the development stage, where we start to ideate and generate ideas through divergent thinking, which is thinking widely and deeply. The process is known as ideation. Divergent thinking is a thought process or a method used to generate creative ideas by exploring many possible solutions. Ideation can be an individual task or it can be a collective exercise. The purpose is to generate ideas by ourselves, which we can take back to a group, collaborate on and expand on together. Where we might also involve stakeholders in this process, UX ideation places a great emphasis on collaborative approaches, which goes back to our core double diamond principles. As UX practitioners, we want to work together and be inspired by others. Ideation can include things like brainstorming, storyboarding, crazy eights. It's really where your creativity begins to shine in the UX process. And you can see a couple of examples on the screen. You can use sketching on a piece of paper with a pen, pencils, comic book storyboarding, graphic design skills if you have them on the computer. It's all, however you can express your creativity, you can use that method. Then prototyping and usability testing, which is part of the deliver stage of the double diamond process, and involves an iterative process of testing prototypes. The purpose of testing prototypes involves showing a fidelity prototype to your customer or client to get their endorsement. As we apply the UI to our wireframe, we transition from a lo-fi wireframe to a prototype, which more closely resembles the final product or service to be implemented by developers. This is why wireframing is sometimes static until it reaches the hand of developers who can then code the prototype. We look on a prototype as a high fidelity wireframe shown on the right-hand side of your screen. It's a question of fidelity and finality, which is the journey to delivering the client brief. And that said, usability testing can actually take place at different stages of the UX process, different levels of fidelity, and if required for the project or to showcase a design or process. So it's all about your users and your customers, what they think, how they feel and how they interact, and if your product is intuitive enough or if you need to go back and continue to refine and work on it. I think that's enough talking for me right now, so I might hand back to Chris, who will continue.
Thanks very much, Laura. Thank you for listing all the key features and topics of our course. I mean, there's some of the key features, but there's so many more. As I mentioned earlier, there's obviously the applied AI and all the generative AI tools that we use in the course that are taught and are shared with our students on top of some of those key and fundamentals that we also deliver from the ground up to more of an advanced level. So thanks again, Laura. Great to have you here again, and I'll move on. So we have here looking at the overall course structure. So this overview looks at basically the descriptive phases of the course from start through to graduation and then beyond. So really just understanding what you're looking at on screen here. All brand new students, they enter and they jump into phase one. Now, phase one is where we teach from the foundations through the advanced level. At the same time, students are working on their own capstone individual project. Now that project is really great because it's based on a passion project that you can bring to the course, and you can focus on maybe, I don't know, I have a dog and there's a particular brand of dog treats, and I would like to make those dog treats a product on a site, and I'm going to explore that. Or I'd like to create a community of fitness fanatics like myself, and I'd like to establish a community and a network, and I'd like to really focus on the whole experience about how to connect. And then once we're connected, where do we meet? And then what activities do we do? And so any passion project that you'd like to bring to the table is, yeah, it's entirely up to the student. Mentors advise and assist students on which project they may like to bring to the course. Otherwise, if you wouldn't like to unpack that, you'd like to unpack some of that project scenarios, we have a dozen that you can choose from. Bringing your own passion project makes you sure that you'll have a unique edge in your own portfolio. Okay, so that's something to consider. But anyways, I ramble. In phase one, all the learning and growing. You are assigned an instructor. You can attend live sessions. The purpose of the phase is to introduce you to the practical skills-based task, getting on the tools, and we'll talk about the platforms. I had a great question earlier. Do you use XD, Adobe XD or Figma? We touch on XD, but we mainly and primarily use Figma because we're seeing that as an industry standard. And then at the same time, there's Miro for whiteboarding, there's Trello for project management. So all these platforms are then not only taught, but they're used in the course. Okay, and we put that all into a project scenario during the live sessions ran during the evenings. And I'll talk more about the live sessions very soon. There's deliverables, okay? So we wouldn't be studying, learning, and growing without some deliverables to validate our growth, okay? So when we validate our growth, we'd be completing activities. They are assessed by your mentor, guidance and feedback is offered, and that's all while we're contributing to our own individual project, okay? So that project becomes part of your portfolio. Now, phase two, for many students is a very exciting phase because this is where, with all of our learnings in phase one, we become eligible to enter phase two, and that's where you work with two separate clients on two separate projects, and they're a month each, okay? So it's a really cool way to apply all of your learnings to a real world application, but also work in teams. But you'll also be supervised by a senior UXer who leads teams, okay? So you'll be in really good hands. And I'll talk more about that soon. Once you've completed both client projects, you graduate. We hold a graduation ceremony. We throw the hats in the air or the digital hats, and we have a great event. And then we talk about the next steps, not only about how to remain connected, but also the career support program. So the career support program works, okay? So it lasts for 180 days post-graduation or until you land a role, okay? And for many of our students, they land a role up to the 45th day mark. But that's on you. We don't apply for jobs on your behalf. We prepare you with our program to create a really great LinkedIn profile and have a presence on LinkedIn. Apply for job roles using a cover letter, resume, and focus on your portfolio. And with those 4 attributes, we give you every level of support needed to place you in front of an employee and have confidence when you're speaking about your own project, your client project, and your overall journey of your studies, as well as your integration into the client projects. So that is an exciting program. It works. And here it is a little bit more of a breakdown. Okay, so we like to expand on things. Looking at the top banner here, phase 1, there's 12 modules. Now we'll progress with these 12 modules, but along the way, as I mentioned earlier, there's an integration of all these applied AI tools. Okay, we've also got an AI toolkit that every student in our course receives access to, and that is basically a supplementary course that you can then apply to your learnings in our UX UI design course. Our mentors are equipped. We have a Slack space, which is our communication tool. And in the general workspace, we share all latest tools and features because if you've seen and you're monitoring the industry, all these new app tools, techniques used in the apps, they're shared with you. So you'll be remaining current to the nth degree as you enter that job role. And that's where you can just assist businesses in learning how to use and apply AI. So you become a further asset to any employer. Phase 2 in the live clients. So they're 2 months, okay, a sprint 1 month, second sprint the following month, and that's at completion of phase 1. So it's successful completion of phase 1. You'll be then eligible into phase 2. You'll be guaranteed a seat in the following month's client, and it's ran over 4 weeks. So in the first week, you'll meet the supervisor, you'll meet your teammates, you'll learn who the client is, you'll gain their brief. You'll also work on team collaboration, team building exercises to really understand each other's strengths, weaknesses, and everything in between. And then together as a collective, you'll formulate questions because in week 2, you'll meet the client. And this is where you'll ask those key questions. And each of you will have that opportunity to interact with the client. In week 3, in week 2 to 3, you'll be getting underway with your research, okay? And you'll be applying the double diamond design process. In week 3, you'll share your research, okay? And that research will be shared with the client. And there's going to be an opportunity to interact and gain feedback. So you'll allow you to progress to a conceptual, if not a prototype stage. It's all dependent on the project itself, Okay, so we have projects just from the ground up. A client might have an idea to launch a website and then later an app. Okay, and there's key features on services, products they're offering, you name it. We could also be working with larger organizations to look at their existing their existing customer journey map and ways to optimize 5 steps into 3. So it's fast tracking, starting to completion of a customer journey, removes pain points, helps customers overcome challenges in the app. These are typically the projects that we work on. Now, there's 2 projects, as I mentioned, and then the next thing, phase 3, career support and talent services. So the career support program works, it's 180 days. You'll be assigned a career coach to support you and guide you until you gain a job role. Okay, so the program works, we have a job guarantee, and at the same time, you've still got access to all the content that you read about in phase 1, you viewed, you observed, you interacted with. So this is how it all works. So here we have the course content. We use an online platform called NovaEd. It's an interactive social tool. You can see students' work in this space. It's like an open gallery forum. When students supply their work, you can see their great work. You can add a like, you can add comments, and it's fully interactive. The live sessions, okay, so that's Tuesday and Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings from 7 till 9 p.m. They run in weeks 1 and 3 of every single month. So if you were to kickstart your studies in UX in March, you'll jump into the live session on Tuesday night, Wednesday and Thursday. You'll have a breather for 1 week, and then you return in week 3 of every month. And if you like, jump into April's live sessions to recap, to revisit, to get immersed with other students and collaborate with new people. Okay, so this is the flexibility that we offer with our course. Messaging, as I mentioned before, is in Slack. Slack is our main communication tool with your peers, students, study buddies, your mentors, and Antonia, student support and engagement. And so we're all in this space and we can chat. We message each other. You can have calls through this space as well. Calendly links are important. So like Laura mentioned earlier, when introducing herself, she has a Calendly link and you can book in time with her. Okay, so mentor sessions are unlimited for the 12-month duration. Okay, so that means if you've reached a point in the course where it's like, I'd like to unpack that topic a little bit further, or I'd like to showcase my work and just see if I'm on the right path, this is what the mentoring sessions are for. An alternative is, I'd like to learn about what I've heard in industry about a certain topic, and I'd like to visit that with you. Students send our mentors their agenda for the meetings, and that's what is discussed. Okay, so we're here to serve you and help you establish further growth in your studies. All the live sessions in the evenings, and if you like, your mentoring sessions, your one-on-ones, they can be recorded. Okay, so the live sessions are all recorded and shared, but then the one-on-one mentoring sessions are optional. You can say, can I record this session? Or I would just like to take notes. So we have an AI companion in Zoom and we can just extract a summary if that's easier for you. All right, looking at our study space. Now the PACES is very, in the space of study, we also have family commitments, work commitments, dancing classes, swimming classes, horse riding, whatever it is that you do for pleasure on the outside of your studies. But we understand that time is precious through the week. Now we've defined these PACES to determine if you're a full-time student, a part-time student, or you'd like to take a more casual pace. So pace 1 is very much aimed at, 30 to 40 hours per week. It might suit those who, well, still living at home, mum and dad, I work part-time, I've got some activities, but I've got a lot of time through the day that I'd like to focus on my studies. And these are the students who complete and graduate within the 3-month, if not 4-month period. Amazing. Like many of us, we work full time. Some might have kids, family, activities, and that would be a part-time study. I've got 15 to 25 hours, somewhere in that range, but this will still allow you to progress and complete a module once a week. Okay, so there's 12 modules. With PACE 1, it might be 2 modules per week that I'll complete. PACE 2, part-time study, that'd be like 1 module per week. Then PACE 3, it's more easier, it's more a slower progression, but it's still, we're progressing, and that's the goal to completion. That's the goal to graduating. Progress at your own pace. Now these are mechanisms, they're interchangeable. Some weeks you might have You might need to place your studies on pause for a few days. So that might bump you from pace 2 to pace 3, but you'll return to pace 2 because that's where I'd like to say, mum and dad, friends, family, loved ones, that is my study space. I need no distractions. That's my focus time. So I'd like to get back to that 12 hours per week, perhaps, or 15 hours per week, because that works for me. So keep that in mind because that encompasses our live sessions. As I mentioned before, week 1, week 3 of every given month, there are Tuesday through Thursday night sessions. They run from 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. That's with, that is under supervision. It's more tutorial based. That's under supervision by an industry expert and mentor instructor. But it's also looking at collaborating as a team to work collectively on activities which are meaningful. That bridges the gap between what you're learning in Novo Ed, the learning content, to what is applied in industry practice, and that falls in the middle to assist you in your learning and your growth within your course. This roster rolls monthly. So as I mentioned before, March, if you enroll in March, you can start week 1, week 3. In April, you can return. In May, you can return again if that's something you'd like to do. So you've got flexibility about how many times that you run, and you can go to every month over the next 12 months. That is your choice. I'm very excited to welcome Sandra. Sandra, thank you for being here today, first and foremost. And everyone listening at home, Sandra is a current student in our UX UI Design Transform course, and she's here today to share her journey from where you're currently sitting to thinking, is Academy XI right for me? Do I actually want to pursue UX and UI design? I'm nervous about that, or I'm excited about that. All encompassing. Sandra, I'm going to hand over to you now. And yeah, please.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you. So before studying UX UI design, I actually have 15 years of fashion design experience and account management. Although I lost my job in COVID, the company I worked for, the boss, she was the owner. She was like 60. She's like, I'm done. She's, I'm burnt out. She's, I don't want to weather the storm of COVID. So she ended up closing the business. So leaving me unemployed and homeschooling 2 little boys for 2 years, which was horrible. So after the 2 years, I really felt lost with my career direction. I knew I didn't want to get back into fashion because I too felt burnt out, but I did want to get into a digital design space. So I was actually looking at graphic design. So I spoke to my ex-graphic design friend, and she actually encouraged me to do UX UI design with my sales and design background. And honestly, I had never heard of UX UI design before. It sounded kind of spooky and a little bit sci-fi, but I trusted my friend and I started researching different courses. So obviously contacted Academy XI, and the reason why I ended up going with Academy XI was the person I spoke to, her name was Rosie. I'm not sure if anyone else has spoken to Rosie, but she was super informative. She had all the time in the world for me, and her follow-up was fantastic. And the other courses that I contacted, they were quite dismissive. They were a little bit more blasé. So, and that was the reason why I ended up going with Academy XI. And also the self-paced, I had 1 year to self-pace myself to do the course. It suited my crazy lifestyle. I personally have found the evening live sessions not workable for me just because of my lifestyle. You know, I have kids, they're doing basketball, homework, all sorts of stuff. But in saying that, the one-on-one personal mentor sessions have been gold. They're very specific to my needs. Every module I do, before I tackle the assignment, I have a list of questions, and I actually contact Laura. She's my go-to girl. And very specific. She helps me out because she is in the industry. She can give me up-to-date information. So I never feel lost. I never feel confused. So it's excellent. Another challenge I've had with the course is the Figma software. only because I was used to, when I studied fashion, it was in the classroom many years ago. So when I was doing Illustrator and Photoshop, I always had a teacher by my side. But in saying that, the YouTube video, there are so many YouTube videos, and I find you can watch them and watch them again and pause them and rewind. So it's actually, there's always, you know, a solution if you're not sure of something. And I also do book in Laura for one-on-one mentors if I'm really, really stuck, and she will share her screen and she will show me how to do it. So that's really valuable as well. So there's no stress of keeping up in a traditional classroom. Overall, I'm really enjoying UX UI. I'm actually surprised. I knew I'd love the UI side, the design side, but I'm surprised how much I love the UX side as well. Like, especially when I had to interview a heap of people, just listening to, you know, their stories and their pain points and what they loved about my project. Yeah, so I love that as well. So I'm really looking forward to becoming a UX designer or a product designer. And yeah, and I think I've got some of my work that I've submitted coming up. Chris? Yeah, that's it. So this is my affinity mapping. So this is after all my surveys and all my research. So I've put it all in Miro, which is all post-it notes. So I've put photos and I've grouped it. So then you can see all the pain points, you know, what people are hating about my, you know, about, it's a produce store. That's my project. So yeah, and it's all grouped. So what I thought the problem was is actually not the problem. The problem is something else. So, which was interesting to find out. So once you have your problem and then you find out who your persona is, so the person that you're catering towards. So my person is it's a young mum and her name's Jessica. So this is the journey that she takes when she's shopping at this produce store. So I've done like a little cartoon just to, I'm extremely visual. So for me, this was easier to put together, and it shows everybody's her pain points. So what she hates about shopping here and what she absolutely loves about shopping here. So yeah, so when I go to design my app, I can make sure that all her pain points are addressed and keep her happy. Next. So this is a storyboard. So this is when Jessica finds out about the app. So her friend tells her about the app, and then she goes to use the app and how the app actually has saved her time. So it saved her time, saved her stress. She's got time to do yoga. She's got time to cook. You know, part of being a mum, the biggest pain is, what do you cook for dinner? So the app has told her what to cook for dinner. And then she has time to read a book before she picks up the kids, and then life is crazy again. So it's showing the benefit of having this app, how it's giving her a beautiful user experience. That's it.
Sandra, thank you so much for coming in, preparing for today, and sharing your journey. I'm going to put you on the spot and ask, you know, you're enjoying your studies, but what's next for you? What's like once you graduate, where do you hope to go? Where do you hope to be?
I would love to work, because I come from a fashion background. So if I could work for, you know, a clothing company or a cosmetics, Mecca Cosmetica as a UX UI designer, I would love something like that. So something a bit fun and girly. It's me.
Well, something that you're passionate about and you thrive when you're in that space.
Exactly.
So that's what we all remember. And that's what that's the message that we're giving to all graduates. Pursue that passion. When we're passionate about something, the endless possibilities, happiness, contentment is found. So we're here to guide you every step of the way. But yeah, Sandra, thank you. Thank you so much for coming in today, sharing your journey. And we wish you every success in these final stages of your studies.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
All right, team. I'm joined by a colleague of mine called Miles. Miles is from, he's the head of our sales team, but he's also a course advisor. And so course advisory is important for students who are thinking about leaping in to enroll with us. So I'm going to hand over to Miles now, and you can introduce yourself and share a bit about what you do.
Thanks, Chris. So yes, big thanks to Chris, Antonia, Laura, and Sandra for, showcasing a little bit about our course. My name's Miles. I've been a course advisor in the online education space for over 8 years. Predominantly my role, and especially in this role here, is helping students if they're looking at a change in their career or something a bit different, maybe upskilling, guiding them through what we have available, answering their questions, going through the course details, making sure that if they are choosing a course, that it's aligning with their learning needs and then their career goals as well. Spoken to people from all walks of life. This type of course really attracts lots of different types of people. It's an amazing course, as Chris mentioned at the start, as it is our flagship course. And something we're very, very proud of as well. So making sure, obviously, if you've got some questions, I'm here to help. I'm here to guide you through, like I said, any details of the course that you might be kind of questioning. Obviously, there was a lot of information here to take away as well. I'm happy to go through the types of payments that we have for our course as well, and any potential discounts as well. We do have a current offer at the moment as well. So if you are keen, next intake starts start of next March and start of next month in March for our next intake into this course. So if you're keen to chat, my details are on the slide there as well. Feel free to give me a call. I'll be happy to chat with you to discuss anything that you might want to talk about in relation to what we offer as well. So thanks.
Thanks very much, Miles. Thank you for sharing your details and also a bit about what you do and how you can support those on the call. So anyone that's interested, please reach out to Miles. As you've just met him, super approachable. You can't wipe the smile off his face. Great all-round help and support. And we would love to have you as part of our experience. Okay, so you help us jump out of bed every morning. We're here to guide and support you, to serve you. And we hope you make the decision to enroll with us. But we've reached the stage of the webinar where it's a wrap, really. But unless there's questions, yeah, we'll close. But I'd love to have all those questions come in if you'd like to ask anything before we wrap up. We're all here to support your learning, but also your learning of what you've absorbed today. And as Miles mentioned, there's a lot of content that we moved through today. I'll invite all my colleagues and Sandra back on the call and to come off mute. Thank you. Hello again, everyone. Hello. But yeah, we're all here. We're all willing to support you. So please let us know if there are any questions. You can use the chat. You can use the QA function, whatever you'd like, or however you prefer to ask. Or if you'd like to share any comments before you leave the call, we welcome A to Z. So thank you so much for being here. And we look forward to working with you in the future. I see we still have some attendees, but yeah, if you like, ask questions. But if you must jump off, we wish you a great afternoon, and thank you so much for being here today. It's often the stage of open day webinars where we hear crickets. Questions has come in. Thank you so much. I want to enroll in March. However, I'm going to Europe. Yeah, this is great. I mean, this is awesome. You've got a trip to Europe. I'm super jealous and envious, first and foremost. But more importantly about you, we can place your studies on hold. So you've got that flexibility. You've got 12 months, but if you want to go on hold for, say, May to June, so if that's a 2-month gap, what we'll do is we'll place you on hold so that when you return, your 12 months still remains, or the remainder of the 12 month is still there for you. Okay, so our study options are absolutely flexible. And you're looking to study full time? Excellent. So that might mean by mid this year, if not just over mid-year, you could potentially graduate and start job hunting. You know, that's exciting. So yeah, you've got the flexible options. We're all about flexibility. And so we want to really push the point that we understand the lives are which are behind the scenes of your study. we like to see that every student makes their study an absolutely #1 priority, but we're also very realistic that yeah, there's other commitments out there beyond studies. So that's why we have flexible options in place to support people like you who travel, who have other commitments. So thank you for asking. I welcome all questions, any feedback, any thoughts, insights, key points of today's session, whatever you'd like to share, we're here. What is the difference between web design and UX UI design? It's all very much all encompassing. A web design can also be seen as a digital designer or UI designer, which is a component of our course, obviously, but it's also more encompassing. A web designer is very much, in many facets, a UXer with skills in UI, digital design, able to put text as a digital format using typography, style, set up grid layout. It's an all-encompassing role. And so if you were to think about what we teach, you'll be very confident in website design by the completion of your studies with us. I'm often asked, here's a little personal story, but I'll have my mother-in-law, she's a little bit older, as you can imagine, and she'll say, what do you do? And what courses do you teach? And I'll always say web design, because I think from her perspective, understanding UX, UI design and all the ins and outs and all-encompassing design is, I think, simplifying the term, but there's so much more behind that. I mean, looking at the user experience, the customer's needs, how they interact with the site, what they want to use on the site to arrive at the end result, which might be a product, the product checkout, filtering options here and there for payment options, how that item is then arriving at my doorstep. That's all encompassing UX. The website design, yeah, that's not only the start of the process, but that's ever evolving, because part of website design might be how a parcel is tracked, how the business that you purchased the parcel or the product is delivered to you. They want to make sure that the customer is nurtured along the way. And so with this is UX. That's about the user experience. Okay, so user experience, UX, but that must be openly communicated, simple to follow exercise. That's looking at a journey map. And that's what we teach in this course. Great questions coming through. What would the course be like for someone who has zero design experience background, but very interested in UX, UI design? I mean, Sandra had the transferable skills from fashion design, but many of our students, they come from diverse backgrounds. We've had, during COVID, a handful. One example that comes to mind, an ambulance officer. They said, I can't keep up with these COVID cases, so I want to change my life. I've got a passion for web design. And so they jumped into our course, and now they're thriving in industry. They had zero experience behind them. We teach from the ground up, from the foundational level. Sandra was fortunate. She had transferable skills. But a lot of our students don't. All they possess is a passion to make a difference in the world and make a positive impact in the digital sense. And that's through creating great user experiences. So don't be shy. I mean, if you don't have any prior knowledge, but you know that you want to make a difference, this is the course for you. Great questions, team. Keep them coming. We've got time.
One thing on that last question as well that excited me, because I had really terrible graphic design skills and was very worried that I would not be able to be a UX designer. But the industry just has so many different job opportunities. You can be an end-to-end UX designer. If you love the Figma and the beauty of the designs you're doing, you could become just a UI designer. You might have a knack for research and you just become a UX researcher. When you have job interviews, you can say where your strengths are and be honest and be like, my strengths lie in research. I'm not good with UI. That's how I feel in my job, but I'm in a design team where if I'm putting some Figma files together and screens and they're looking a bit wacky, I can ask another designer and say, hey, what do you think? How can I make this better? And, you know, the UI, the really good UI designers step in and they're like, do this. And I learn and my designs look better. And yeah, one team, one dream.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It's a team effort.
Yeah.
What you've just said there, Laura, as well, like our students have landed roles as product designers, and that's all encompassing of what you've shared, like the UX researcher, the UI designer, the UXer. And so all encompassing product design, it's all intersected, it's all interweaved, isn't it? So and these are roles that our graduates are landing, which is amazing. I mean, you're a prime example of this, Laura, being in the industry for a number of years now, but you started with us way back when. So yeah.
Yep.
Pleasure to have you back, and now you're my mentor, right? So this is full circle.
I love it. There's a lot more questions coming through.
Others,
Yeah.
great. I haven't kept up. Sorry, team. I've heard that the industry is very saturated at the moment with many layoffs in tech. Do you have any comments on how it reflects the job growth? Yeah, we're aware of this. And at the same time, once upon a time, it's absolutely saturated with job opportunities. And then now we're seeing a little bit of a lull. We're seeing that pick up gradually. Our graduates are still landing roles. We landed 5 roles with five of our student graduates landed roles last week, which is amazing. It shows that they're still moving. The job ads might be more scarce. We have businesses come to us to say, we would like new, fresh talent. Can you help us? So if the job ad is not visible, we have people contacting us directly to say, I need a UI designer, a UX, or an all-encompassing, I've got a product design role, but I'd like a junior, or I'd like someone with fashion design experience, like Sandra, or I'd like someone with team management experience, or, what's that extra level of experience that students from their past life have brought to the course and then thrived with. So we can help place the correct student with the correct employer. This might be a question for you, Laura. Can you discuss a challenging design problem you encountered and how did you solve it?
Oh no, now I feel like I'm in a job interview.
Yeah.
Let me think of something I talk about briefly. So I work for Service Victoria, like I said, creating like easy ways to engage with the Victorian government. One of those is I work on a product called Working with Children Check, which you may have heard of. And a big challenge they had is everything is quite manual and a lot of paperwork involved, a lot of plastic cards printed for people's wallets. So a challenge that I had probably when I first started with Service Victoria was how do we make this a digital experience for people and create a digital card so there's no longer the need for this plastic printed card. So I worked a lot with Worker Screening Unit, who is that government agency, to discover the real need. Was there even a need for a piece of plastic or a piece of paper to replace it, or a digital card to replace it? Why do we need that? And then also I did a lot of discovery with customers who had a Working with Children check to say, what did you do with that plastic card? If it was digital, where would you put it? Like, would you show it to anyone? Understanding all the needs, the pain points in that journey. And fast forwarding a lot, the end result was I got to design a digital card for the Service Victoria wallet, which was actually the first digital card in the wallet as well. Yay. And it was just a really, really good learning experience, especially working in government, but I'm sure all organizations face like challenges of like budget, time, how many people is this helping? Will it really help? Yeah, it's really fun. That's just one example of many, many.
Great. Thank you very much, Laura. Very conscious that we've only got a minute left. So before we wrap up, because this call might just end abruptly. So I just want to say a big thank you for everyone that's attended, all my colleagues in the room, and Sandra especially. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. Really appreciate everyone for being here. I'm going to get through these questions as soon as possible, speak as fast as I can at double speed perhaps. How competitive is the job market in UX UI design? It is competitive, but it's about what we've established in the last 2 quarters is a 97% success rate. So 97% of our students who are in the careers support program, I'm trying to speak fast, land roles. And that's 97% who complete or gain roles within 180 days minimum. The extra 3% I always ask, they achieve job roles after the 180 days. So they're great stats that we're achieving consistently over time. Miles, you're answering questions about
Yeah,
payment.
so 4 different options for payments. You can choose to pay in full with a big discount. We have 2 payment plan options too, one with the ZFi and one with the Zip Money, and the final one is a pay assist through ZFi as well. So definitely something to suit your ways of repaying, or if you'd like to make a full payment, you can get a large discount.
Miles.t@academyxi.com. If they have any questions, they can come to you or find you via our website.
That's it.
It's still running, so let's keep answering questions, then we might wrap up. What are realistic salary expectations as an entry UX UI designer? So you're talking more about if I'm a junior, what's the salary expectation? I read the latest industry insights, and that was January. So refreshing my memory, I believe it was a starting point. I mean, every business is different, what they offer, and based on your expertise and what you can bring to the table, it's definitely a range. But I recall seeing anywhere between 85,000 to 110, I think, as a junior. Now, I say I think because it was January, I read that article and saw some metrics and all that data. But good question. But I think if you jump to the likes of Seek, don't just use my advice and my word for it, but go to the Seek, and you can see in their platform salary ranges for UI designer, UX designer, product design roles. So put in those key titles, and then you'll be able to see salary ranges. There's a lot of information online about this as well. I think we've got through all the questions. I didn't need to speak at double the pace, but here we are. Well, we're going to wrap it up there anyways, team. We've got other meetings to go to. We've got afternoon. So I just want to thank everyone again. I wish you a great afternoon, and we'd like to see you in the future. Bye all.
Bye.